All right, let's bring in our panel right now. With us today, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, former Republican lawmaker Mike Murphy, UIndy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson, and Politico's Adam Wren. So, Laura, this new state budget has a big new tax on cigarettes that lawmakers hope will make up for revenue the state might lose because of all this economic uncertainty. It seems like the kind of move that could bring a strong reaction from voters one way or the other.
Yeah, I think it absolutely could. And you're talking about a pretty significant gain here. That's $2 per pack. They're estimating for the next 2 years at $850 million. But cigarette taxes are always a little tricky because you're going to be impacting, of course, those people that purchase cigarettes. Sometimes we see that as a vulnerable population. It's an addictive chemical in cigarettes in terms of nicotine. And of course, this comes on the heels of that property tax cap. So we have to make up the money somewhere. I think this was the right move in terms of the budget for right now. But longer term, you can't just rely on adding this in, increasing those numbers every single time.
There's already been some pushback against that cigarette tax in some conservative circles. Mike, what did you make of how things came to an end in this year's session and the big task that lawmakers faced here in just a matter of days? They didn't even use all the time that they had to get this budget done.
Well, I think it was a distasteful task, so it wasn't something they wanted to linger around with for very long.
They wanted to get it done quickly and go, huh?
But I will say, get back to the cigarette tax for a minute. You know, that will raise some immediate income, but it's really short-sighted because if it's successful, you lose. The goal is to get people to stop smoking. There's a public health goal.
And then that
too.
funding isn't there.
Yeah, and then the legislature cut funding for public health again, even though they claim to be in favor of public health. They didn't have any good choices, but I think they came out of it about as well as they can.
Robin, what's your response from across the aisle and to a couple of the controversies here at the end of the session? The governor kind of taking control of IU's board of trustees, and also this latest controversy involving Micah Beckwith's comments, speaking approvingly of the 3/5 compromise.
Wow. Well, Beckwith is his own person. He's on his own planet. He's doing whatever he's going to do. Criticized his own governor, said it didn't go far enough, ingratiated himself to the extreme right wing of their party. So I guess that's the cast he's going to do. I'd like for you to give back that nice, expensive automobile. That would help reduce some of the cost of state government. As it relates to what went on with IU, that's a governor's prerogative. He appoints a lot of the board members to begin with. So this is taking away the alumni's opportunity to vote, so it'd be up to the IU alumni to address that. I'm still concerned, though, Dan, because you know what I've been asked most? I thought there was a surplus. That's what people kept saying to me. Just less than 2 months ago or 3 months ago in the State of the State address, one of the first sentences that every governor says is the state of Indiana is strong. Who would ever think you're down $2 billion? People won't admit it's because of the tariffs, and they should do that.
And Adam, I want to get your thoughts on that as well here, in addition to what we just heard there from Senator Banks earlier on this very topic, facing questions about how the state revenue forecast was citing the uncertainty of these tariffs, to which he replied specifically that he didn't think the governor was blaming the president, though a lot of this uncertainty at the federal level does seem to be impacting what's taking place at the State House.
Yeah, and we actually have a date now to pin Trump's economy to, and that's Liberation Day. I mean, that's the day that he said things would be different, and so that's the moment in my mind where he really took over the economy. I actually agree with Senator Banks. I did not see Senator Braun blame...
Braun didn't. It was the state's the state economic forecast
that's correct.
itself.
Yeah,
right,
that's correct.
Yeah,
but I do think Braun's remarks were fascinating because they show the difficulty that GOP surrogates have right now in distinguishing the Trump economy from the Biden economy.
Laura, the markets rallied this past week largely on the notion that perhaps the president was trying to walk back some of these tariff proposals. Some pretty complicated terrain here policy-wise, bringing a lot of ups and downs on Wall Street.
Oh yeah, it's been incredibly volatile, and I think you see voters, and I know it's not an election year, and I know Trump isn't up for a third term, but you see voters responding to that. He's insulated because he is prohibited from running a third term, but we saw the Reuters Ipsos poll.
Though he
from
has
last
bought
week.
merchandise.
He has.
2028.
But he's at 42% in terms of
Yeah.
approval. So the pressure to change the tariffs, the 145% on China, right, is going to impact American consumers and American businesses. They're the ones that are going to have to put the pressure on the president and the administration to change that policy, because that's really where we see that economic challenge.
Mike, we also need to talk about the passing of Pope Francis as well. He was a highly religious figure, obviously, but also somewhat a political figure in the eyes of some observers. What do you think his legacy will be in the Catholic Church and beyond?
Well, I think it'll be mixed, just like the Catholic Church is not homogenous, the opinions will not be homogenous. I had one acquaintance, I'll call him, who wrote to me and said, well, you know, good, he's gone, the Pope was a commie. And I said, if the Pope was a commie, then Jesus was a commie, because I think the Pope was the most Christ-like Pope we've had in my lifetime, quite frankly.
Robin, we heard from Senator Donnelly there earlier as well, who had the opportunity to get to know the Pope as ambassador to the Vatican. He played an important role there and had some rather fond remembrances of the pontiff.
Senator Donnelly talked about the Pope just in the best terms you could possibly speak. I mean, the senator also talked about how the Pope was accessible, how he had a sense of humor, and also how he really did care about major issues like immigration, like feeding the poor, like taking care of the homeless, that issues that we need to keep in mind as we move forward.
Yeah, Adam, Senator Donnelly, former Senator Donnelly, really front and center there in the Vatican over these recent years.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth remembering we don't have an ambassador to the Vatican right now. And so it's remarkable to have seen Donnelly go over there with Callista Gingrich, the ambassador who preceded him, a rare moment of bipartisan respect there for the late Pope.
All right, our thanks to the panel. They'll be back here in a few minutes with this week's winners and losers. And coming up next, why school board candidates will now run for office with a political party after a new bill that just passed at the end of session. Stick around.